Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and it's time to critique the official portraits from the coronation of King Charles. I think it's the third. Now, I got these photos off of the Buckingham Palace website. Actually, I took them off of Twitter because the Twitter ones were twice as large as the files that came off of the Buckingham Palace website. But let's turn here real fast because I want to show you this is where they came from. The official portraits from the coronation of their majesties, the king and the queen. They were also taken by a guy named Hugo Burnand. It says in the staterooms at Buckingham Palace following the coronation service. Now, with that being said, we have no idea how long this photographer had to accomplish these images and capture them. I am going to take a look at the images and give them a critiquey McCritiquerson because I've done that for presidential portraits and no one's asked me to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because I think a lot of you guys want to hear my thoughts on these images. Now, how did this photographer get the gig? Let's take a look at their website real fast. This is Hugo Burnand's website. He is a photographer. It says, by appointment, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, Hugo Burnand, photographer, London. Real quick, we go to About, and it says, Hugo is the only portrait photographer with a royal warrant given by His Royal Highness, Prince of Wales in the United Kingdom. I didn't know what a royal warrant is, so I looked it up. A royal warrant is an appointment is granted as a mark of recognition to people or companies. Basically, if you're really nice to the people and you're close to the king and the queen and the Prince of Wales and whoever else, they can give you a royal warrant, which says you've done exemplary service for the king and the queen and her royal highnesses and their royal highnesses. And I guess you become that. But let's actually take a look back here real fast. He's holding a Hasselblad. So did he take these photos with a Hassie? We're going to go and find out. So let's jump into Lightroom here and we're going to work through these images. So this first one right here is, it said the working royal family. So you can see the king and the queen right here. We don't have any metadata information at all. Probably shot with the Hasselblad. Actually, first things first, look. Let me just say this. I am not sitting here trying to rip on the photographer who had this gig. One, they had this gig. Congratulations to them. That's all that matters. They're the only ones taking these pictures, so it doesn't matter whether they're good, they're bad, they're indifferent. Just like the presidential portraits of the past, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, the photographer that took them is the photographer that took them. They're the only ones who ever did it because they're the ones who had the gig. So good on them for getting the gig. But we can take a little bit of a look at this and say, I mean, I didn't notice this right off the bat, but look how much space is on the right-hand side and look how much space is on the left-hand side. They're not exactly in the center. I would think that the Royal Highnesses should be in their center, but I guess it's kind of off because you've got these two people here. Sorry, I don't know any of these people. And you've got, well, why is Kate Middleton on a step lower? Why does she not count as being on a step higher? I don't know anything about royal garb. So these people, the men are wearing one thing and the women are wearing the other thing. You've got the king and the queen in the middle. But really what throws me off more is that it's not exactly aligned or centered. Now, and you can actually see that it's not aligned or centered with the carpet at the bottom. Now, this is all just off the top of my noggin here because you can see that it's slightly angled. You can see that it's not perfectly straight. So that's one thing that I would personally try to do. I would try to set it up as straight as possible. He's probably on a tripod, but they didn't line it up perfectly in the center, and they didn't line it up perfectly with all of the royal carpet. It's royal carpet. Oh, I wore my royal colors of purple because that's my favorite color. Is it a good photo? Sure. I mean, it's a photo. I mean, this is what it's going to be here. But those are the things that I picked out of this. I mean, I can't wait to get to the royal photo. That's going to be a totally different story. Next, we've got the king and the queen. It's fine, right? I love the depth of field. I love the separation from the background. I don't think it was done with an iPhone, but it is very nice in terms of the separation. It's fine, right? I mean, I rather see it like with the nice light. I know Annie Leibovitz had photos with the queen in the past. Some are good, some are not so good, but Annie's Annie. So some of the stuff that she got with the queen in the past were absolutely fantastic. I think the processing looks good. I would probably punch it up just a little bit more. This looks fine. Look, we got the mirrors. We have no reflections in the mirrors in terms of popping any light, so that's not a problem. I mean, they got to be throwing a ton of light up here on this, and I think this is a fine photo. I'm not sure why they don't have, oh, they do have an individual one of the king. I almost said that they didn't. But let's jump into the main photo here, because we have no information on here. I just took them off of Twitter. I think this is a good photo. I like this one a lot. It's just, I mean, it's basic. Real fast, I know that I said that the images are fine. Are they the greatest thing since sliced bread? The answer is no, they're boring. They're sanitary, they're basic, but I don't know what the photographer could have done because we don't, again, know the allotted time that they had to do this. If it was me, I would try to take more time. I would try to use natural lighting and make them look less stuffy, less boring, and less snapshotty, because the picture of the king and the queen is just, they're standing there. It's like almost dress up at a wedding, right? That's almost what it looks like. It's like, here, put on the royal garb and take a picture, and it's almost like Halloween because it's just boring. I mean, I don't know if there's a throne they could be sitting on. That would always look cool, but then again, it's gonna look stuffy, it's gonna look boring. And the photo of just the queen by herself, it's a basic photo. Stand here, light it, and show it. But I don't wanna be overly harsh because I don't know, again, with the photographer, what they had the ability to do. So that's what I have to say about that. Now let's jump in to that final photo. Now, this is the main photo. This one I have the most trouble with of all. First and foremost, why in the world are we cutting him off at the ankles? Like, that is the biggest thing, my biggest complaint about this photo, and we're gonna process it in just a minute because, you know, I gotta throw Skittles on it, but why would you cut off at the ankles? And if you're shooting with a Hasselblad, or even if you're shooting with a Hasselblad square, but even if you're shooting with anything, why don't we have the proper composition? Now, I can't say whether or not the photographer had final say on the edits or final say on the crop, because maybe they just supply the image and then the Buckingham Palace does the rest. So I can't say whether or not that photographer had it. I could give them a call, which I'm going to give them a call after this, and we'll see what happens. But I don't know that they had that choice to make, but this just doesn't make any sense. Why are we cutting it off right here? Either show the whole throne and nothing but the throne and the entire gown or robe or whatever the hell you call it, but look how much headroom there is. So why don't we just come in here? So do we want 2:3 aspect ratio? Let's go with 2:3 aspect ratio. Wow, what are they using, 4:5? 4:5 aspect ratio? Basically using 4:5. Didn't mean to turn it. So if we were to cut it in a more uniform type of place, we would cut it up a little higher, but that's gonna ruin the robes and everything, and then we're not gonna get the entire chair in there, and I want his eyes up a little higher. You know, I mean, I don't like where it's cut, but I think this is not cut as bad. But let's zoom in here on the chalice. Is that a chalice? Is that a chalice? You can see the lights. I mean, I love the reflection, and that is one beautiful looking ball. It's not a bowling ball unless it's a royal bowling ball. I love the reflections that you get in it, and I don't know if you can see the photographer or if these are the big ass soft boxes that were used, but there you have that. I just don't understand the cutting of the ankles where they cut them. So why don't we hit it with a couple presets? One, Capone. I think Capone looks freaking fantastic here. Then we've got November Rain. I think that looks pretty good. Actually, it's a little green, so let's throw in there some magenta. But come on now, we gotta bang it out with some Skittles. Look at Skittles! Look at Skittles! This is what Skittles looks like. Let's reset it. Without Skittles, with Skittles. Without Skittles, with Skittles. I just think it looks so much better with Skittles. I wish I had the original file. That looks better. The royal purple looks better. The chalice looks better. Everything just looks better with Skittles. You know all about Skittles. You can get FroKnowsPhoto.com/FroPack3. But my feelings on this are, again, congratulations to the photographer that has worked for 20 some years to get this position. They did Kate and William's wedding. And by the way, did you know that Kate Middleton is a photographer? And I love the work that she's doing. I remember when she just started taking photos of her kids, and I was like, good on her for taking photos of her kids. I think that's fantastic that she's taking the camera and she's turning it on her kids and not having to worry about having another photographer come in and do it a certain way. I just love the rawness of her stuff, and it's gotten progressively better over time. Kate, if you're watching this, please leave me a royal comment. I will greatly appreciate it, or you could send me an email. I do love the work that you're doing. I love the fact that you've picked up the camera and you've progressed and learned so that you can photograph your own kids. I find that to be awesome. So what do you guys think about these photos? Do you know anything I don't know? Is there a reason why it was cut at the foot or the ankle where it was cut this way? Do you think Skittles looks better? What would you have done differently with these images? And just remember, the photographer probably had about 12 and a half seconds to capture these images, so we don't want to rip on the photographer there, and we don't know whether they had the option to crop. I'm going to call them right now and find out. I'm going to call London in just a second. But once again, at the end of the day, these are photos. They're not spectacular, but they go on to be historic because they're the photos that represent this day, the coronation, and that's it. So for the rest of history, or whatever the history might be, these are the photos, and that's all that matters. And if they were trying to appeal to a younger audience, I don't know how you would do that. I don't think that that is even possible in this way, but these are not the best photos that you could ever see. Maybe when the photographer has more time to shoot, they might be able to create something better. So only time will tell. Thank you guys for watching. Jared, Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.